So today our lesson is going to be on how to do reviews using Light of the World. Every 7th lesson we have is a review lesson. So lesson 7, 14, 21, 28, etc. is a review lesson. And this is a chance for us to stop and not introduce any new material during that class, but just to make sure students fully understand everything that they've learned to that point. And so I'm going to show you one of the review lessons, and we're also going to talk about the quizzes or tests that go with each of those reviews, because there's 2 types of quizzes. One is an online multiple choice Google form quiz, which the students can just do online if they have internet access, and they will immediately get a score given to them. Or as a teacher, you can print those out on paper and give them those quizzes in class if you prefer. We also have a second quiz, which is administered and scored by the teacher. And so with that one, you've got a little bit more responsibility. And so we'll talk about the steps for doing that. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go to, oops, I got to share my screen first. I'm going to share my screen and share sound. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, my computer is kind of. So here we go. Now, can you guys still hear me? It did something with my microphone. Okay. All right. So this is the Google Drive where all of the lessons are kept. And so to
Good morning. Oops.
To select a lesson, I'm going to show us lesson 14 today, and all you have to do is right click on the lesson and then click download if you want to have it on your computer in PowerPoint. And then once you download it, you can open it. By the way, if you don't have PowerPoint, you can get it for free in order to view lessons. My speaker is not working. Go to settings. Okay, I don't know how to get rid of this. Sorry, technical issues. Test speaker. We're just going to close this. Okay. So if you don't have PowerPoint, you can get a version of PowerPoint for free that allows you to view lessons. You won't be able to edit them or create them, I think, in the free version of PowerPoint, but it is available for viewing lessons. You can also use Google Slides or a number of different programs for showing your lessons. But if you use them in PowerPoint, you can access the audio, which is nice if you want to play the songs or the audio narration. So here is a review lesson, lesson 14. And as we go through the review lesson, you'll see it has the very similar structure to a regular lesson. We start out with a prayer, and we review the homework or any questions students had from the last week, and then preview what we're going to do today. So today we're going to cover a whole bunch of topics because these are the previous 6 lessons. So everything from God made the world to Abraham's sacrifice, and our themes. You can see all of our themes here: time of day, classroom objects, etc. The next slide shows us the sounds, the pronunciation sounds we're going to be practicing, and also the grammar that has been learned so far in these lessons. And then we go through all of the theme pictures in class. And these should be familiar. So students have seen all of these pictures in previous lessons. And we just ask, what do you see? And see if they can name all of the things in the picture. So I'm going to ask Anna, what do you see in this picture?
I see clocks and the meals.
Good. Clocks and meals. Excellent. And then we can ask what else, and have other people in the class, you know, specify things like day, night, breakfast, lunch. And then we go to the next one. So classroom objects was another lesson. And this one also includes more classroom objects and commands. This one shows different places you can visit and filling out forms. So at the police station, at the doctor, when you're shopping online, you fill out forms. This one is showing people together praying before they share a meal. And this one's showing household objects. So as you go through these lessons, it's just to refresh students' memories, and they may have questions and say, oh, I forgot, what is the name of this thing? And you can say, oh, this is a refrigerator. Can everybody say refrigerator? And you can practice those words. The next thing you'll do is go through the grammar. And again, they already know this, so you're just going to go over it briefly, but see if they have any questions. This is where we can see if there's gaps in their knowledge, that they haven't learned things fully. So we learned about asking what time it is. We learned about making contractions with the verb to be, I'm, your, he's, she's. We have the question words, the commands, capital letters. This is very important in A1. We want to make sure that they use capital letters for names of people and places, and for the first letter of a sentence. We're also going to go through present tense, do and does. So this is always really hard for English learners, putting that S at, if the subject is he, she, or it, we say does he instead of do he, and he likes instead of he like. And then we also look at those negatives, a little more repetition with some question words, and then we get into the conversation section. So this is one thing that's different than a regular lesson. We have conversation questions A and conversation questions B. And you'll see in the teacher's instructions, it says, with a partner, students will practice asking and answering the questions. So you can have one student be A, and he will ask these 6 questions of student B, and then the other student will answer those and then ask these 6 questions of student A. And then they can even switch and ask each other those questions again. So depending how much time they need to work on conversation, you can have them switch with different partners, or work with you, if you just have one teacher and one student. But it's important that they practice these conversation questions, because these are some of the questions that will also be asked in their quiz at the end. And so if you're a teacher in a physical classroom, you might want to circulate around the room as they're talking about these questions and help them out, see how they're doing. If you are working on Zoom, you might want to put your students in breakout rooms in pairs And so within that breakout room, they can be working individually with their partner and practicing those questions. Does that make sense? All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And then the next part is pronunciation. So just to make sure they can pronounce these 12 sounds. So there'll be the 12 sounds that are used in those lessons. You'll just go over them and make notes of any sounds that they still cannot make. So there are going to be, depending on your students, there'll probably be a couple of sounds they really struggle with. And it's good for you to make note of that so you can have them do extra practice on those particular sounds. For example, the O sound is spelled L-E at the end of a word in English. And many like Portuguese or Spanish speakers will say Bible instead of Bible. And so you note that and make sure that that's something they get a lot of practice on. For this exercise, they're going to say the word and the stress pattern. So what you will do, the instructions are here. You're going to hum the pattern and then say the word. So it says hum the D pattern and then say 3 o'clock D. So the D pattern is 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock D. These little dashes represent the stressed and unstressed syllables. And what then you'll ask the students to go through. So we model the word, then they can repeat it. So class, please repeat 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Thank you, Kimberly. Good. And 3 o'clock is letter D. We do the same thing, and then we can say, for example, breakfast, breakfast. So what do you guys think? What is the pattern for breakfast? Is that A, B, C, D, or E?
I think it's B.
Yes, very good. Breakfast. So the first syllable is higher in pitch, longer in duration, and louder. Breakfast, breakfast. And so you can spend some time with that, making sure that they can get the stress syllables for these words. The next section we have, oh, and welcome Kezia. Kezia's just joined us. Thank you for being here. The next questions are reviews of Bible stories. So they have already read these Bible stories, and these are some simple questions about the Bible stories. So you can go through these and ask the questions. What did God make? So Kezia, can you hear me? Kezia is on mute. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Kezia,
Hello, good morning.
what did God make? What did God create in the beginning?
He created the earth, the heaven, the animals.
Yes, very good. The earth,
Thank you.
heaven, the animals. Yes, God created all of those things. And Ingie, what were the names of the man and woman, the first man and woman that God created?
Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Their names are Adam and Eve.
Okay, very good, very good. And then question number 3, what day do you rest? That'll differ depending on the students. A lot of people rest on Sunday, but some people may rest on a different day depending on their beliefs and depending on their work schedule. Some people never rest, but that brings it to a more personal discussion on question number 3. So you can ask those questions. And then we go ahead to the next one. We go through Noah and Babel and Abram and Sarai, and then the Abraham's sacrifice of his son. And so we can ask some questions just to make sure they're familiar with those Bible stories. And again, they should be, because they've read them in their first language. We've covered them in English in class, and now we are reviewing them again. But if they do forget these stories, you can also go back and look at the Bible verses or the stories in the previous lessons. They have them refresh their memories. And then this is a dictation exercise. So just as we usually do with the dictation, we say these words, and the students have to choose the words out of the word bank and write them on the lines. So the teacher's script is down here. So like number 1, sun, sun, God made the sun, sun. So they would have to find this word sun and write it in the box for number 1. If that's too easy for them, you can also hide the word bank, take those words away. And so then they can't see how they're spelled. They have to remember how they're spelled. That's a new challenge for them. For part 7, we have songs. So these are 3 songs that they've already heard in previous lessons. You can just click on the little icon here to play the songs. I'm not sure if my audio is working. Can you guys hear that audio? No?
No.
Okay. Well, I can hear it, but I think for some reason it's not transmitting. But what you'll do is play these songs, and the students listen to the songs and fill in the blanks of the words. And the answers are down here. So number 1, the snake came to Eve in the Garden of Eden. And you may have to play that section of the song a few times for them to hear it and get it down. But again, these should be familiar songs. They've heard them in class. They've also had the chance to listen to them at home if they have YouTube. And they've sung these songs, so they should know them. Okay, and now we come to the first review quiz. So the first review quiz we can do during class time with the students. The second review quiz we typically give them for homework, because they can do it on their own and they can take it multiple times if they want. But this first review quiz, it says, take the listening, speaking, and writing quiz with your teacher. Listen to questions 1 through 7 and say your answers. Then you'll look at a picture and write 3 sentences about it. Now, be sure to read the teaching instructions down here, and it tells you you're going to use the rubric found at the end of the presentation to score the student's quiz. The teacher will give the speaking, listening, and writing quiz by asking the student the following questions. So you're going to ask these 7 questions, and then you're going to show them a picture, and they have to write on the picture. So if you go over here to the rubric, which is found on, it's always found at the end of the presentation after the appendix. It actually has the questions written in here. So you can, if you wanted to, you could print this out on paper and have one of these for each of your students, or you can just do it electronically. So you could make, if you wanted to make, let's say you have 5 students, you could duplicate this slide. So I could just go duplicate slide, duplicate slide, duplicate slide 5 times. So I've got 5 copies of this. And then I would go ahead and put the student name up here. So we'll put Joanna's name up here as the student. And the date that we're giving the quiz is whatever today's date is. I think it's the 4th. And then they show you examples here of how to score with this rubric. So an example is, if the question were, are you an adult? A good answer would be, yes, I am an adult. If they answered that, and it's true, and it's correct, they are in fact an adult, they would get 3 points for that. If they give a partial answer, but it's unclear or incomplete, if they just say yes, or they say the words but not in the correct order, they say adult am, or they say I, adult, adult me, then they would only get 1 point because the answer is correct, but it's not perfect. It's not clear and complete. And if they say, no, I am not an adult, I am a baby, they would get 0 points because that's not the correct answer, right? So they can either get 3 points, 1 point, 0 points for these. And so these are the 7 questions you are actually going to ask them. So let's practice this. So Joanna, can you hear me? You are my student taking the test. Okay, so Joanna, what time is your English class?
My English class is at 2 o'clock.
Excellent, very good. So what I would do here, I'm just going to put a 3 in there. I'm giving her 3 points because she gave a correct answer. Okay. And then if I ask, let me ask you another one. Joanna, what do you like to drink? We're jumping to question number 4. What do you like to drink?
I like to drink pineapple juice.
Okay, very good. She likes to drink cran apple juice. So I would give her 3 points for that as well. So if she's giving good answers, she's going to get 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 all the way down here. Now the next thing we do, part 8, is write sentences about the theme picture. So we're going to show one of the theme pictures from the beginning of the lesson. We had 6 of them, so you can pick whichever one you think would be good for your students to do. You could even give different ones to different students if you wanted, but usually I just pick one theme picture. So I'm going to show this theme picture, and then you ask the student to write 3 sentences about it. So, so Kimberly, what are 3 sentences you might write about this picture?
The book shelves are in the bedroom.
Okay, good. What else could you write?
The microwave is on the kitchen shelf.
Okay. And one more?
The tree is outside the window.
Okay, good, good. So, so for that one, I'd give you 3 points for the books on the shelf, for the tree outside the window. Now, you said the microwave is on the shelf. which is probably fine. But one of the words we learned in this lesson was countertop. And so if it's a correct sentence, I would actually probably give her 3 points at this. But I could also point at it and say, and what is the name of this black thing that is in the kitchen? And try to elicit the word countertop to see if she knows that one. But
Actually forgot.
that's okay. And shelf is fine. And like I said, I would probably give you 3 points for that because it's a good sentence and it's complete. So notice on this, we have scoring again. So you're gonna, for this part, because it's writing, the students are gonna write 3 sentences. And as we grade it, it has to be correct, clear, and complete. It has to begin with a capital letter and end with the correct punctuation. So if they write, I see a family, this is a man, they are animals, those are good. They are correct, they are clear, they're complete, they have a capital letter and a period at the end. If they are correct but incomplete, like they forgot a capital letter or a word, or they don't have punctuation, they would only get 1 point. And if the answer is not correct, they use the wrong word or they just say, I don't know, they're going to get 0 points for that. So does that make sense on that scoring rubric?
Yes.
Okay, so once you've got it all filled out, let's say, just for, it might look something like this. So they got 3 points here. They got 1 point on this one. And then let's say their writing was all good. And so they got 3 points on all of those. And so then we'll add up our points, right? So, so it would be a total of 30 points, but there's going to be, we're subtracting for those 2 they got wrong. So help me with the math here. That would be 26. So then that would be the points, the total score for their test would be 26. All right. So any questions about administering or scoring the listening, speaking, writing quiz?
So they can get on right there and type in, or?
Yeah, so depending on your technology, there's different ways to do it. If you're in a physical classroom, you can do it on paper. If you're on if you are using Google Slides, you can share the document with your students and they can type on the same document as you. Now this is, the students don't necessarily need to be writing on the sheet. This is for the teacher to have the score. The student probably, if you're doing it via Zoom, a better way to have the students would be to have them write on the whiteboard, or they can even write on a notebook at home and hold up their notebook to you with the words. But yes, they can type on the screen using the annotation tools in Zoom, or if you're using a shared document in Google Slides, they can type on that.
Thank you.
Sure.
How,
Go
for
ahead.
sorry. For a class format, how do you provide individual feedback? Because I know you're teaching us now, but if I'm in a class with other people, I wouldn't necessarily see you scoring them, would I?
So if you're in a class with other people, yeah, so here's what we would do. For example, if I have a class with 10 students, I'm only doing this testing with them one at a time. So I would have the other students doing something else during this time that I'm giving the test. So this might be a time I might say to them, hey, you guys, I'm going to start giving the test. So why don't you start on your homework, which is going to be, you can be taking your online review quiz, or you can be reading Genesis 37 and 39 in your language while I'm giving the quiz to each person. So it probably takes, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do this quiz. Now the writing part, you could have them all do it simultaneously. So you could say, well, I'm doing the speaking and listening part with Kimberly, I'm going to ask the rest of you to write 3 sentences about this theme picture. And so part of the class could be doing their writing exercise while I'm individually administering the listening, speaking part of the class. But no, I wouldn't be showing the scores to everybody in the class. I would be keeping that private. So I would not be sharing the rubric to everybody in the class while I'm writing down the scores.
Okay. And if you're virtual, could you and that other person just break off into a breakout room?
Yeah.
Main session open?
Exactly. So I could be showing the theme picture, having that up, and then I could go into a separate breakout room with the one student I'm talking to. And then when I'm done with that, I could talk to others.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's a great question. We've got to think about the logistics of doing this. So it's easy when it's one-on-one, but when you have a group of students, hopefully, once again, you will have a co-teacher with you. I highly recommend that you always teach with a partner. And I think we may have touched on some reasons for that, but reason number 1, then you've got somebody to cover for you if you're absent or on vacation or sick. Number 2, you're always training somebody up who will be able to take on their own classes and be a lead teacher in the future. And number 3, it's just practically, it's a lot more fun, and it's a better division of labor when you have at least 2 teachers. So you could have, one teacher who's administering the talking part of the quiz and another teacher who's administering the writing part of the quiz simultaneously if you have a larger group. Now, after you're doing that first review quiz in class, students, after a review lesson, they don't have as much homework as a typical lesson. They get a little break after the review lesson because we want them to, first of all, have a little bit of a rest, and secondly, spend time reviewing those things that they might not have done so well on, so that they will be prepared to go on to the next lesson. And don't be afraid to hold your class back. So if you find that, they're really struggling, they're not getting through this material, they don't understand it as well as they should, don't rush ahead and go into the next lesson. You can spend 2 or 3 class sessions reviewing to make sure everybody is caught up before you go to the next lesson. English learners will get discouraged if they get behind and they don't understand what's going on. And then a lot of times they just drop out. So we want to, in order to keep them encouraged and feeling capable and competent, we want to see them succeed. And that often means reviewing materials repeatedly that they haven't got. Sometimes as teachers, we want to get through our syllabus and we're like, okay, we're going to do one lesson a week. And then we're going to be through with 21 lessons in 21 weeks. And that's the end of our semester. And we have graduation planned. But you never know. Your class might get through that a little bit quicker. They might need a little bit longer. But you take your cue from your students, not just an arbitrary schedule. So the homework that they're going to be doing, as always, they'll be reading the next week's Bible story in their first language, and they're going to take this review quiz. So they can just copy and paste, or I think it's a hyperlink, and go to this quiz. Let me go ahead and show you what those quizzes look like. So students should be able to do this if they have a mobile device and a internet connection, but you can also print this out on paper. So these are the questions. They're multiple choice. So like, his name is Abraham, Adam, Eve, or Sarah. What we're looking for here is the rule that names always start with a capital letter. So Adam is the correct answer, etc. So they're going to go through these, answer these. There's just one correct answer per question. And then when they're all done, they're going to submit, and it will immediately tell them how many they got correct and how many they got wrong. And so we encourage students to, it says, take the review quiz and write your score here. So let's say the first time they take the quiz, they only get 10 points out of 20 correct. They could put 10 there. And it says, if your score is not good, or it's not as good as you would like, practice more, then take the quiz again and write your new score here. And so we let them take it. Sometimes students will take the quiz 5 or 6 times, and you can see those results if you make a copy of the quiz and give them your own. So right now, if you use this link up here, the students just go to the generic Google form. But if you read in the teacher's notes, it says, if you would like to see your students' results, please make your own copy of the quiz at this link. And so all you have to do is copy and paste this link into the browser. And it will say, would you like to make a copy of review quiz? And you click make a copy. And it takes a few minutes or a few seconds, so don't give up. You don't have to keep clicking it. It just is going. Okay, and now you can see this is called copy of LOTW review quiz. And you can put your own name in here instead. So I can say, put my name in here, Melina's LOTW review quiz. And now, see this little purple button here that says send? I can send that to my students. So I can put in my students' emails here and send them my copy of the quiz and ask them to take that one. I can also, so I can, put in student and send it to them, and they will get the quiz in their email, so they'll be taking it. I could also, if I wanted, just make a copy of the new link and give that to all of my students. And once I've made my own copy of the quiz, if I want to, I can even add extra questions in here or change it if I don't like those. Like instead of his name is Adam, I could use the names of students in my class and put them in here if you want to get fancy. But the nice thing is now that it's my copy of the quiz, when I can go to responses. Right now there's 0 responses, but if I had students who had taken it, it would show me all of the students' names and the scores that they got. So you don't have to do that. That's kind of an advanced feature. But if you want to, just like you can with the PowerPoint lessons, you can make your own copies of them and then you can edit them. But with the quizzes, the advantage of making your own copy is then you can see the student scores instead of relying on them to give you their scores. Any questions about that?
Melina, how can we see the answers, because we have to be able by add by editors?
Yeah, so if you make a copy of the quiz, then you are the editor.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do, if you see in the lower right-hand corner, there's this little pencil icon. If you click on that, then that allows you to see the responses. So you can see here, we've had 49 people have taken this quiz. And so it shows you a summary, so you can then look at your whole class and see how many got it right. So like this question, 77% of the students got that right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go through and you can also see the individual responses for each student and see how they did. But you need to make a copy of it in order to do that. And again, that's advanced.
Great.
You don't need to. You can just use the link that we already have in here, and that'll work just fine. And then your students can just write their scores and share it with you the next week. So, and then the final thing for homework, just as always, we have this checklist, and they can go through the checklist and click on the things that they can and cannot do. All right, so that is our little lesson on how to use the quizzes and the review lessons for Light of the World. So I hope that's been helpful for you guys today.